Hello, viewer. Welcome to Women's View. I'm Anne Muremi, your host. We're so glad that you're joining us once again. It's always a pleasure to have you. And before I tell you the title of today's topic, I just want to let you know that you can be able to listen to us live on YouTube. Our handle is GBS TV Kenya. Please subscribe. We're also on Facebook. The handle is GBS Kenya. Welcome to the show. With me in studio, I have two lovely ladies, and I want them to introduce themselves. I'll start with the lady on my extreme right. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, viewer. My name is Jackie Jero, a financial advisor in this town, and more importantly, a mother to a hearing impaired child.
Welcome to the show, Jackie.
Thank
you
you.
so much for joining us.
Welcome.
I have another lady in studio. Karibu sana.
Hello, I am Lorna Mothamia Ochido. I am a speech and language therapist or pathologist practicing in Nairobi. My clinic is Hearsay and Read Clinic, but so happy to be here.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's so great to have you because the topic that we're talking about today is delayed speech in children. We're having a lot of children who are taking so much longer to talk, and it's actually become something that is quite a problem that has really, it's becoming more and more. So enjoy the show. And if you have any questions, please just type them in on YouTube. We also have an SMS line. The number is 21144. Thank you. Yeah, ladies, so it's so great to have you here. I'm so happy that you came because what we're talking about is very, very relevant. Yes. But I'd like you to give us a little bit of background about yourselves. So I think I'll start with Lorna. I like the name of your clinic. Hear, say,
and read.
Hear, say, and read.
Yes.
So you say that you're a speech and language therapist. How did you become that? Is it something you wanted to do from when you were a child?
No, It's something I did not even know existed until my sister was diagnosed with a hearing impairment, just like Jackie's son, which is just a coincidence. So, and for us, there was no speech therapist that she could access in Mombasa, which is where I grew up.
Okay.
And I remember at one of her audiologist visits, so audiologist is the person who assesses or evaluates hearing.
Yes.
So not an ENT, not a doctor, not a pediatrician. So
an audiologist.
An audiologist,
okay.
Yes. And so I remember then I had just finished my high school and he happened to just, suggest, why don't more Kenyans do speech therapy?
Yes.
Because then there was, I think, one speech therapist who was an expatriate that was working in Nairobi.
Yes.
And I know for a while my family did contemplate whether half of us could move to Nairobi just so that, my sister could access speech therapy. And it was just the right time because I wasn't quite sure I had not made up my mind about what I was going to do as a career. And this just ended up being a blessing in disguise for me because I truly found my calling in speech therapy.
So how long was your sister was diagnosed with speech hearing disorder?
Like a hearing impairment.
How old?
When she was about 2. I think she was about 18 months or 2.
Ah, that was quite early.
It was quite early, but she never ended up getting the early intervention.
Okay.
So by the time she started getting consistent therapy, she was about 5 or 6. And really at that time, you're on the older side.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, cool. What about you, Jackie? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you've come to find yourself in, this space of speech and speech therapy.
Yes, it was in 2014 when I realized that Max, still at 3 years, he was still not able to talk.
Max is your son, right?
Maxwell is my son. He's now 8. He's turning 8 years in August.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So, January 2015. I decided to confront my fears now.
Tell us go a little bit back because you gave birth to him. He was a healthy child.
I gave birth to Maxwell in 2010 August. He was a normal baby, though he weighed 2 kgs. He grew well, but then he had delayed milestones. Like everything about his life was delayed and all that.
Okay.
So even walking was a problem because I remember I even took him to a specialist because my friends told me Maxwell had rickets. So I took him for a test.
Okay.
Unfortunately or fortunately, he did not have rickets. The doctor told me he was fine.
Fortunately.
Fortunately, yes.
Yes.
After a month, Max was not only walking but running.
Good.
He was
okay.
actually running. So even speech, I thought it was normal for him to have the delay because of his history.
Yes.
But now what I didn't know is that he was not hearing. So in January 2015, I took him to the, I thought it was an ENT issue.
Yes, ear, nose and throat. Yeah, because maybe there's an infection.
Yes, something like that.
Okay.
So I took him to the doctor. Then the doctor was like, did you ever have him tested for hearing? I was like, what is that? Where is done? Where is it done?
Clueless.
How is it done?
Yes.
So he referred me to another specialist who is called an audiologist,
Yes.
who specifically deals with the testing of the hearing.
Okay.
So we were taken there, we did the tests. And the end of it all, he confirmed that Maxwell was not hearing. He was only responding to round bangs.
Okay.
Yes, like when you put blasts, for high volumes is the only thing that he could never respond to.
Yes.
That one now explained why Maxwell in the house was always putting the highest volume of TV or in my car, loud music.
Yes.
That was the only thing he was hearing.
Yes.
So, and right there, my life took another turn.
Correct.
Because, of course, now, being depressed, I'm in denial. You know, you're like, why is this happening?
Yeah,
But one thing I've never asked God was why him. No, I've never asked God that.
Okay.
I just told him to give me the grace to be able to face this, because if not me, who else should go through this?
Exactly.
I took up the challenge. Of course, I went through the weeping and the mourning period.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because
Yes.
we were talking about it earlier with Lorna.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, what are the red flags to watch out for? Because sometimes I find that a lot of parents, they cannot tell whether this is a normal thing, a normal delay, or if it is something that needs to be like where you need to have experts look into it. What was there a red flag for you, Jackie? What is it that made you go to the ENT? Because there was no fever.
Yes.
You know, what is the red flag that made you go?
Yes. The thing that made me go, let me take you back. In 2014, August, I took Maxwell together with his brother to my dance village. I come from Embu.
Okay.
They stayed there for a week. On coming back, when I was picking them back, my dad saying, by the way, you need to have Maxwell checked for his hearing, because he was doing something with a spoon at the back behind him. Maxwell was not turning with one ear, but he was turning with the other ear.
So you had a way of testing your father.
He had a way of testing. My father was a music teacher, so he knows how to do these things. So, it caught me by surprise, but I told him, okay, I'll think about it. We went back to Nairobi.
Yes.
Then again, I don't know, I kind of...
Of course, you pushed it back. To be honest, nobody wants to think there's anything wrong with their child.
Yes. So I started watching him. Then in October, something happened. I had left Maxwell in the compound. He was still young then.
Okay.
So I left him in the compound, playing around. Then I went to job.
Yes.
When I reached my place of work, my neighbor called me. So he told me, Maxwell, Mama Maxwell, where are you? I told her I'm at home. I'm at work. So she was like, you may need to come back home, like immediately. So what has happened? Maxwell has been hit by a car in the compound.
Oh, no.
And not finished even 15 minutes. Well, so I told her to take Maxwell to the nearest clinic together with my helper.
Yes.
So they went. I found them. We were living in Syokimau then. So I found them at the nearest clinic. Luckily, he had only hurt the ankle of his feet.
Okay.
On asking about the story was this. They were playing in the compound. Then a vehicle was passing by.
Yes.
Yes. So the driver hooted, all the other kids ran away.
Yes.
But Maxwell could not, because he never had.
Yeah.
So that was my turning point now.
At that point, you decided this is serious.
So now I realized this thing is serious, and I want to now take action and move forward. So now I started now going to the doctor, checking, I didn't know it was a hearing problem.
Yes.
So my friend told me to go and see a neurologist.
Yes.
I went to the neurologist.
And you know what? I want to cut you off because the issue of the neurologist, actually, you've just brought it up.
Yes.
You see, there are a couple of reasons why children have delayed speech.
Yes.
One of them that you've already talked about, like in
Yes.
the case of Maxwell, is that they have a hearing problem.
Yes.
And if you can't hear, of course, you can't speak.
You can't speak.
But there's also other reasons, and you've talked about a neurologist because
Yes.
there's something I think, is there a relationship between, now I'm asking Lorna, the therapist, is there a relationship between autism and delayed speech, a correlation or something?
Yes, one of the features of children who are on the autistic spectrum disorder are that they will have difficulty with acquiring timely speech and language skills.
Okay.
But to take you back to the red flags, so
Yes.
for Mama Maxwell, the red flag there was somebody, a family member, alerted her to the fact that there could be a chance that Maxwell isn't hearing.
That's
and it
correct.
just so happened to be that family member was attuned to music. So I'm sure
Yes.
during the visit,
Yes.
Dad was, always trying to play
Yeah.
music and
Yeah.
figure it and feeling that Maxwell, there was a bit of a disconnect. So
Yes.
that's, so a red flag in that case, a red flag, hearing issues or hearing infections are definitely a red flag. You never quite expect a child has a hearing loss.
Yes.
You never. It
You
always
never,
comes
you can never
as a
be ready for
Yeah.
that.
it comes as a shock because it's not a red flag. It's not something like, you're told, if your child doesn't respond to, if your child doesn't respond to like banging, you just say, maybe they were just ignoring, maybe they were just preoccupied.
Yes.
But there are other known red flags that parents can actually reliably look at as indicators for whether their child might have a speech and language disorder, for example. And that could be the fact that he was born at 2 kilos. I don't know if
2
he was
kgs.
preterm. Was he preterm?
No.
He wasn't preterm.
Full term.
So
Full
if he
term
was
but underweight.
yeah, so
Yeah.
if he was preterm, then that would be a red flag for we need to watch out. Could there be other delays?
Already you need to have this in your mind. You need to be like attuned to that.
Yeah, looking out and just seeing what else. And Mama Maxwell talked about delayed milestones.
Yeah.
So what are those milestones? So if your child is not holding their neck up by about,
Yes.
6 weeks, if they're not
Yeah.
sitting by 6 months or 7 months, if they're not walking by, between 9 and 1 and 2 months, so that is 14 months.
Yes.
And for Maxwell, so a couple of things would have actually raised the flag, yeah? So one of them was the delayed milestone that you talked about, and the fact that, what else did you say that he wasn't doing?
He took a while to walk.
It took a while to walk.
Actually, even crawling.
Did he crawl?
But not all
crawling.
kids crawl.
The
so-
thing is, Maxwell was rolling like a snake, like this.
Rolling, yes,
Rolling.
instead of crawling.
I didn't know what was all that about.
But interesting enough that isn't really.
Rolling is not.
Like there
yeah.
are kids who even like do a walk with their bottom
Yes,
and they go back,
yes,
they
yes.
just shuffle back. But
Yes.
actually what I meant was the other thing that you did talk about was delay in walking.
Yes.
Now for his particular case, the
Yes.
fact that he wasn't hearing, and you didn't know then at the time,
I didn't know.
but for you to walk, you have to have good balance. And
Yes.
where is
Oh,
balance
by the way, in the
regulated?
ears.
It's regulated in the ears. So even if you don't know for sure that your child has a hearing loss, the fact that he's late walking, you are like, okay, and then these other milestones as well, that at least should have alerted a professional that you visited, like, there could be an issue
That's
here.
correct,
And I mean, there's also markers of how many words a child needs to have at different stages.
Yeah, we
So
need to
if
talk
you're-
about that
Yeah,
as
so
well,
that
yeah.
as well. But yeah, going back again to what you asked about, the connection between speech and language and autism, yes. And children with autism would have also their own unique red flags in that this is a child that is probably quite rigid with their play skills. They probably, kids are known to be quite imaginative and they might, vroom, 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 vroom with the toy cars. But children who are suspected to have autism or have autism might show very restricted play skills. They might line up things. They might be interested in the
on
obscure. Yeah. So they are turning over the car instead of driving it, and they are turning the wheels. They might have just a little obsessive tendencies to things. They might have lacking eye contact. They might have no interest in communicating, in interaction, in the social interaction. So if your child, and then on top of that, they might be delayed in meeting their expected, vocabulary milestones. So all those together can then, you know, so when a parent comes to the clinic for an evaluation, I look at the different things that the child is presented with, and that initial consultation is case history taking. So if Mama Maxwell came in and didn't know that the Maxwell had a hearing loss, I'll look at, okay, that's the marker. I'm like, oh, have you had
would pick it up.
Your ears tested? And if another parent comes in and, oh, my child is not social, they prefer their own company, they do this, and that, oh, that could be a marker. So then you're able to have a differential diagnosis, because a child that has a stutter presents differently from a child that has autism, from a child that has a hearing impairment. So that is the work of a speech therapist, to then look at what it is and make, you know, that differential diagnosis.
Wow. And it's so interesting because there's so much correlation. I actually knew that balance has got something to do with the ear, but I've never actually known to be able to link the two, that if a child has delayed walking, I mean, it could also be something to do with their hearing, you know. And to be honest, I like what you say, that no parent is ever prepared. You know, so Jackie, how did you cope?
Wow.
Because you've coped, and you look like you've overcome. You know, so you need to tell us.
She's definitely overcome.
Yes. Even for me to be able to speak about this, it has taken God's hand. I must say, in 2015, that was my darkest year. Yeah. And that year ended. I went to church for a crossover service, and I told God, I know you have a purpose for my life, because I never thought I was going to overcome it. Because, yes, I was in denial, I was depressed. I went through all that period, but then I realized no amount of crying, no amount of screaming was going to help the situation. This boy only depended on me. So I had to face the fact, shake off the dust, and start seeking help for him now. Yes.
And you had mentioned earlier that you're the one who was experiencing this, because when you looked at Maxwell, was he also depressed? And
now, the most amazing thing was that when I looked around the house, the happiest person was Maxwell in that house. He was very much okay with his life. He was very hyper, doing his things happy. I was the only person who was grieved about this. The person who was depressed about all this. So I realized now I need to do something about it. So it's okay to go through this. That season was very important for me, because I went through it, I learned about it, and then I had to come out of it. And the thing is, the faster you get out of this season, the better for you, because you're able to move to the next
the interventions now.
The intervention stage. We had already done the screening. After screening, what next? The intervention came in. So there were two options. You needed hearing aids. Hearing aids are the external amplifiers that amplify the sound. Then again, it's for the mild hearing loss. But for Maxwell, it was severe and profound. So, but now the person who did for us the test, like the specialist, and told us to get some hearing aids. The first test, you remember, on Gongdon. So he told us to get 2 hearing aids. One was costing 160,000. So for both of them, it was 320,000. And unfortunately, these things are exclusions. The insurance covers. That is what broke my heart most, because it could not be covered. No matter how big a cover you had, it could not be paid for. So now, where was my help going to come from? I decided to seek another opinion. I went to Giants Hearing Center at Nairobi Hospital. I did another test for the hearing. I was still in denial.
I know.
Or rather, I wanted to seek another opinion.
You know, you're hoping that that person who did the first test, maybe they made a mistake.
Or something has changed after a month or so. I went to Nairobi Hospital. So we did now the first test was called an audiometry, where you do it manually. You rely on the response on the kid. You put something like headphones. Then after he hears a vibration, he was supposed to throw a cardboard, drop something. So I thought that was not efficient or reliable. So now I sought this other one. Now the machine one. So we went to Giants Hospital. We did another test. It was a BR test now. This one was even sedated and all that. Everything done. So I was sure now this one will show now the correct. Then, so we did the tests. And after the tests, after around 40 minutes, we were given the results, confirmed the same thing. Of course, my heart now. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we got the test, but now the person who was testing us told us, this one now, you cannot even get a hearing aid for the right ear because the nerve is completely dead.
Okay.
Yes. The auditory nerve is already dead. So even if you got a hearing aid, it cannot help him.
Yes.
Meaning we only needed one now.
Yes, on the other ear.
So, well, we got one hearing aid for the boy after a week or so. Then, but now the problem was him accepting it.
Yes.
He thought now what is this?
You're cramping his style.
Yes, he's wondering, what are you doing with my life? You know, my life was very much okay until you came in. So he's trying to throw it. He was in another school. This time Maxwell is in school, not Mark you. Because now I thought his delayed speech is because he doesn't have a sibling at home.
Yes.
So he needs to be out with the kids.
Other children to socialize.
All this time he's in school for 2 years.
And nobody at school was speaking?
Apparently no teacher picked. But I don't blame them because even me as a mother, I not realized he had the hearing loss.
So all this time his behavior was normal in terms of
nothing
that
was just
about
hyper.
his behavior. Okay.
Yes, he was just hyper, doing everything
That's a bit alarming, to be honest.
Yes.
I don't know whether maybe Lorna, maybe is it okay? How come the teachers can't pick? I thought that the teachers should be able to pick. Thank God for your father who was a music teacher.
Yeah.
I know, thank God for him. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. Okay.
I mean, a lot of children do get missed, you know, and if a child is displaying all other typical, you know, behaviors that are expected of a child, for children that have restricted social interaction, then like the ones that, you know, if your child is suspected to be on the autism spectrum, then those ones are easier to pick because they're very rigid. But all other kids, I mean, Maxwell's case, he was playful as ever, he was able to interact. The only thing he couldn't do is he wasn't talking. And probably he wasn't settling as well. And somebody could say, oh, well, it could be what he's had for breakfast. It could be just that's his temperament.
Maybe, or his temperament. Maybe he's looked upon as a quiet child who, you know, that's some people who tend to be
or just quite a, you know, high energetic child. If anything, they probably would have said, oh, perhaps he's showing signs of attention deficit or ADD or ADHD. But children do get missed, you know, unfortunately. And I have found schools that will pick up, but I think they tread very carefully.
I know. Yeah,
because and this is from talking to schools, they'll say to us, they would even rather have me go in and speak during the parents' meeting. And hopefully the parents then will be just a little bit more, receptive. Because I think the minute schools, and probably in your case, they probably said, this mom hasn't mentioned anything. You know, she probably already knows and she's not wanting to talk about it, so who are we? And then maybe some brave schools will then approach a parents and say, you know what, we suspect that, you know, or we don't know what could be. How about you go and have the test? Have you noticed?
Actually,
it's a very, very sensitive discussion to be.
But I also know schools will say that when they do alert parents pull their kids out of school.
And
actually, my case was different because now on the second school that he was in 2016, I was told, we are very sorry, we cannot accept your kid back in January. Get him another school.
They told you that?
Yes, so I was again so broken. He said they could not manage Maxwell. They could not, yet he had the hearing in, they could not manage Maxwell. So, I'm so broken. I'm trying to get help for him. The school is telling me he cannot come back here again in January, you know.
Too much to deal with, you know?
There was so much to deal with that time. But I thank God for his grace because my relationship with God is what kept me together. Yes. So I was able to get him a school. The school was not very important at that point. Because now, then again, remember, at this time, Maxwell is almost approaching 4 years. There's another thing. If anything has to help a kid or any other, Maxwell or any other kid, it has to be between 0 and 5 years. After 5 years,
the window closes.
Yes. So it was very urgent for me to do this. So after doing the hearing aid at Giants now, It never helped Maxwell.
Yeah, he refused it, basically.
He refused it.
Yeah.
The few times he earned it, he could not hear, so it was noise to him. Then, now I was really interacting with people and all that, telling them about all this.
Speaking.
Then someone told me at Gertrude's, there was a week they were doing free testing, free screening and all that.
Okay.
So I went. I took Maxwell now for the 3rd test.
Yes.
That is where
you met
Rona.
The great connection.
Yes. So I went to Gertrude's. He was done the screening and all that. It confirmed the same thing.
Yes.
So now...
But now you had to accept.
Now I'd already accepted.
Yes.
Only that now, this one was a free test. So I said,
Let me
why
just
not?
go.
It will not do any harm. They might find, when
There
you're
will be
looking
some
for help,
change.
you
Yeah.
go to all these places.
Yes.
See what can really help you.
Correct.
So now we had to get a surgery done because now the hearing aids were not helping Maxwell. I remember by the end of 2016, and by the end of 2015 now, Maxwell was turning 4 years.
Yes.
So he has turned 4 years. I met another ENT doctor who told me now about this window period. Because now I thought I had like until when he turns 10.
You thought you had a lot of time.
So now when he told me that I had to do this within 5 years, now that one caught me by surprise. I didn't know what to do now. But one thing for sure, what I did by the end of 2015, I wrote on my diary for 2016, my first goal was cochlear implant surgery for Maxwell.
Yes.
I didn't know the how, I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew it had to be done. And a cochlear implant surgery was not cheap. It was 3.2 million.
What?
Yes. 3.2 million. Wow. No insurance company was covering that.
Oh my.
I even planned a fundraiser. I started all that. Yes. But let me tell you,
you're so amazing.
I had to do it for him because I was looking every day when I went home, I looked at him. And I was asking God, if life is already too difficult for me, who does not have any disability, what about him? Who cannot hear, who cannot speak? How is his life going to be?
Yes.
You know? Now, I forgot to say, when now I was told about that school, that I cannot take him back to the school in January,
yes,
I started visiting institutions, trying to get him a special school and all that. But I thanked God because when I visited the special schools, I realized Maxwell does not have a problem.
Exactly. Now you even got a change of heart. Before we go there, because that is really such a mindset shift.
Yes.
I want us to talk to Lorna. Lorna, tell us about the time limit. You know, she's talking about you have got to get your intervention sorted between 0 and 5. Already, for you, Jackie, you discovered this when the child was 3.
Yes.
So you had 2 years. I mean, do you find that parents take too long to accept, grieve, and start dealing?
Yeah, I do feel that. And like Jackie said, it is necessary. That season has to be dealt with. So you get parents who, so she went through the grieving and then she was able somehow, you know, to snap herself out of it and now do the work that needs to be done. There are parents who just stick at the grieving for too long. And I understand, like, since, I mean, working in Kenya and setting up my practice 9 years ago in 2010 to date, I have found much more much more than just offering the therapy, it's also the counseling for parents. And what Jackie said, which is just, you know, really, it rings true, is she was the only one grieving. Maxwell was just as happy as anything. And sometimes it is so hard to see this child as being whole, because they are whole, you know, and you should be grateful. This child is here with you, contributing to all your happiness, and it's the reason why you are so driven, you know. It's the reason why we are so driven for our children. And so when you look at them, still enjoy them the way they are, and still, you know, whatever you want to work on, like to improve, those ones you can improve, but you really also have to be in the right frame of mind yourself as a parent. And in my practice, I have found if moms are committed, I don't know why it's never dads, but if moms are committed, and you know, so I'm not faking this, just anecdotal research. This is what I'm saying. If the mom is driven and committed, that child moves so quick. And Maxwell is, when I say so quick, this has been a journey for Maxwell from 2016, but you can see he's in a mainstream school, he's doing well. And that window you're talking about, we were told about, well, actually we didn't know about it with my sister, you know, by the time she was, I mean, we found out early, 18 months, 2 years, but she didn't have intervention, just like how Maxwell had the hearing aids. Just hanging hearing aids over top of a child's ear does not ensure that they start talking. If anything, their world was quiet. And then now you've added noise and you've not helped them, help their brains tune into the sound. So speech therapy helps a child's brain tune into this noise. It is noise to them. It's like it was nice and peace, like if you're meditating.
I know.
And then suddenly, you're just like, no, you think it is helping me, but I'm thinking this is too loud. Unless you pair that hearing aid, you know, that increased amplification with the right auditory training or speech therapy, a child is always going to reject it. And so the window of opportunity, sadly, for all children, really, there's a shorter window and then there's a larger window. So the larger window is 0 to 5 because the brain is really growing quite rapidly, but the brain grows the most rapidly between 0 and 3. Between 0 and 3, a child's brain grows to 80 to 85% of its adult capacity. Like I sing about it, and for children who have a hearing impairment, really that window, for you to have a child, for their hearing impairment not to present any issues in their communication, it should start earlier. But then we are still making, you know, like headways with that, because I know in the past this was perhaps 15 years ago, the age of diagnosis of a child that had severe to profound hearing loss was 2 years. Was 2 years, then it dropped to 9 months. And it's only just
at 9 months you can tell? You
can tell. You can even tell. I mean, there's countries that have instituted new neonatal hearing screens. So I know particular private hospitals in Kenya, you can request to have your child's hearing assessed at birth, but really most other developed countries, you can have your child's hearing tested at birth, and actually they advocate it because research has found that a child that has a hearing impairment, the sooner you can start to give their brain access to sound. You know, this is a child, so at 2 years, at 3 years, Maxwell did not have access to sound.
You mean basically the mind is just quiet in there?
It is quiet. And so the brain, the part of the brain that actually processes sound, it starts being dormant. And at 5 years of not amplification, it actually just neuro-weeds that function. We don't need this function in this boy. Let us not, you know. So it becomes harder for you to then teach a child who hasn't had proper amplification past 5 years. And I think that is really what the doctor was talking to you about. But so if a child, I know overseas, I did work at a hearing rehabilitation center in New Zealand, and they have kids as young as 6 months. Who are given hearing aids, and then they probably have their surgery by 9 months. That child, by the time they're 5 years, by the time they are, you cannot tell. And if it's a girl who has long hair, unless you say, oh, there's a hair, you actually, you're like, you have no, there's no difference between them and a hearing person. But in Kenya, we're still, you know, we're still making those, you know, little steps. And also just even the realization that hearing impaired children can actually speak. It becomes possible when the identification and the amplification happens earlier on rather than later on. Well,
that's good information, and I'm happy that this particular mom in the studio today, Jackie, she actually just went through her grieving and was able to snap out of it. You were telling us that one of the things that encouraged you a lot is you went to a special needs school.
Yes, I went to a special, it's a mainstream school, but it's also integrating. They have a section. Apparently, the owner of the school has 2 kids of her own with the same problem. So as a matter of giving back to the society, she has put other like 15 kids of the same kind. So that was the best decision I ever made for Maxwell. It's a home away from home, actually. They take care of him. He goes through schoolwork normally, and now they have a therapist as well in school. Apart from the normal therapy sessions we have been doing with Rona for the last 2.5 years.
This is a long-term journey.
It's basically a long-term journey.
But you know, you talked about the 3.2 million. You actually made it. And
we made it.
Did you have the surgery done in Kenya? Or
yes, the surgery was done in India. So in 2016 May, we left to India on 9th May, precisely. I cannot forget.
I know.
Yes, we went to India. We stayed there for a whole month. Yeah, usually when the surgery is done, like today, no, they learn the tests before they do the surgery to confirm that everything what you're telling them is okay.
Yes.
You carry the doctor's report, but they have to confirm what the doctors are saying in Kenya.
Okay.
So after 2 days of tests within the surgery, then after the surgery, the wound is given, it's a cut from here to here.
Yes.
It's they fix an electrode
Yes.
On the skull, on the skull of the, on this part of
intense,
the,
yeah.
yes,
It
yes.
actually goes into the inner ear,
Into the
cochlea.
inner ear, the cochlea part of the ear.
Okay.
Because the problem is the inner ear now.
Yes.
So after they do that, you're given 14 days to heal.
Okay.
Now, after 14 days, they switch on. It has to be switched on. All that time it is off. Now, on the switch on day, that is when now the magic day comes in. That the boy is hearing for the first time.
How was his reaction? Do you,
oh my gosh, he screamed his heart out. He was crying. It was the first time was like clearly, you know.
Oh wow.
So
And it's irritation for the child.
it's
Yes.
too much.
Yes.
Because this has not been there before.
Yes,
so
yes.
he's crying out of frustration and anger, not out of surprise.
and wondering, what is this? What have you done to me?
Yeah,
you know?
because and this time, you know, before he could remove it.
Yes,
because he could hear
yes,
the ache was external, but now it's inside,
It's
so
internal.
he can't. Maybe
It's
he kept. Did he
internal.
try to keep hitting his head or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
He has tried. He even
Yeah.
fell down at some point.
Yeah, because of
But
the
we
balance
thank God
issues.
for His mercies.
Thank
He takes care
God.
of them.
Yes.
And then, so after that, after now the switch on, because now he's hearing, we began now the speech therapy.
Yes.
That is where now the rubber meets the road. Because, you know, we expected after the surgery, he has begun hearing. So he should automatically
talk
start
automatically.
talking. The journey began there.
Okay.
Rehabilitation.
Yes.
Yes, because it is either you are committed to this all the way or you stop it. The speech therapy began in 2016, June, and up to now, we're in 2019.
3
We
years.
still faithfully do the speech therapy.
And can I ask, can I
Yes.
just pose a question?
Yes.
Because I think this will really be helpful to other
Yes.
parents.
Yes.
Did speech therapy work right away? Did Maxwell settle right away?
Oh my gosh.
No, I don't.
That was the hardest thing
To
on earth
stay
to
there.
do, to stay there,
And
to
you feel like
maintain him, like to make him sit still.
Where?
Remember, he's
Where are
also
you talking
hyper.
about?
Therapy.
Therapy.
Session.
Like during the therapy, is it like a? It's like a.
It's like now the way
clinic.
we are.
One-on-one.
It's like a class, one-on-one, being told A for apple, B for boy.
He wouldn't want to remain there.
Of course, now he was not used to that.
Okay.
It was very hard for him, but we sailed through slowly. Now we stayed in India for one month. After
So you
1
had
month,
some sessions there.
yes, we had like almost 10 sessions, sorry.
Okay.
So we came back home. After we came back home now, we started now with Rona
Yes.
at Get Roots.
Okay.
Now the problem was also adjusting to that because at times you could go. We have driven all the way to Modaiga,
Yes.
Get Roots. Nothing is happening. He decides he's not going to go through the session.
He decides.
We go back home.
How does he decide? Does
No,
he?
he's not. He's just throwing tantrums.
whole
Tantrums. He's
time.
even putting off this
Oh
thing
my
that you have given him
God.
because his life was very much okay without this thing. What is all this you're subjecting him to, you know? So until now, I came up with a plan. I decided now I'll be carrying the house help
Yes.
with me because when I'm there, he's not concentrating.
Yes. Sometimes
He becomes much of a baby. So what I've been doing all these years, I carry the house help
with you.
with me.
Okay.
I stay at the parking, they get inside.
Yes. They do their
They they do their session. Then I drop Maxwell to school. By the way, Maxwell is in grade 1, which is standard 1.
Well done.
Yes, he's 8 years old. And I'm so grateful to God because yesterday he was asking me, Mom, where are you going?
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome? Guess what? We need to take a short break, ladies. This is really awesome. Viewer, we'll take a short break, but we'll be right back. Thank you.
People have dominance over themselves. Why? Daddy, no money. Give me money, I'll buy for you. Daddy, I say I don't have money. I know, Daddy.
Can the Ethiopian change his skin? Or the leopard its spots?
예수님이 우리의 모든 죄값을 다 지불하시기 때문에 예수님 다 이루었다라고 말씀하셨잖아요.
So Jesus paid for all the wages of our sin. That's why he could say it is finished.
Yesu alipa mshahara wa dhambi deni zetu lote, ndiposa akasema kwamba imekwisha.
하나님은 슈퍼컴퓨터와 같은 분이.
Children, God is like the supercomputer.
Upendo wa Mungu ni kama hii supercomputer.
Kulipa is now easy with EasyPay. When you shop at your local supermarket, fuel your car, dine out, book a flight, make other payments or pay your bills, you want simplicity, security and convenience. It's accepted everywhere you see the EasyPay sign. And it works with other mobile networks too. What's more, you can withdraw your cash at the supermarket till where you see the cashback logo. Get your Equitel line or download the Easy Banking app today because Kulipa is now easy with EasyPay.
Towards the end of 1994, Money magazine published a story about the sharp rise in consumers shopping from home.
That same year, 60 million consumers made $98 billion worth of purchase from home.
And nearly all of it through phone orders prompted by mail catalogs and TV shopping channels.
We as the GBS TV
Home shopping fraternity, we adhere to this.
Home decor,
fashion,
food serve,
and book sales.
What you see is what you get.
Everywhere, GBS.
We're going to be in the kitchen learning how to do a few tricks. I hope that you're going to get the chance to cook this in your homes because it's very quick, it's very healthy, and it's very delicious. It's so nice. I love it.
I know.
How many of you use your real names on Facebook? Wengine ni Sweetie Pretty.
You must succeed in being an eagle and not a chicken.
I'm seeing myself owning the biggest media house in Africa. Yes, I could employ you, in fact. Yes.
All right, now it is going to another direction. But that's a question.
When you are born and when you grow up, now you do the work. You become a person who likes the country. You understand, right? I mean, not getting a job at Kenya Power, right?
And you know what? Who you are online is exactly who you are offline. And who you are offline is who you are online.
여러 군데 가서 강연을 많이 해보는데
So I've been to many places to give lectures.
문화일래 와서 와 이러면
Whenever I say 문화일래 와서
눈썹으로 인사를 대답을 해요.
they respond with their eyebrows.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back, viewer. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we're talking about delayed speech in children. And in studio we've got experts. We have speech therapist Lorna Muthama, and we also have a parent who has gone through the challenge of a child who couldn't hear and therefore couldn't speak, but now there's so much progress. So we were just talking about how difficult, or rather how challenging, the speech therapy sessions are.
Yes.
But you were able to go, Lorna, you're talking about it took a while for Maxwell to settle.
Yeah. And like all credits to Mama Maxwell, because I have seen parents come and give up after 3 sessions, and I'm thinking 3 sessions.
Oh,
and it is very tough for parents because children are, their child is crying, throwing a tantrum, and you just want to, help, rescue them from that situation. But honestly, that is not the best thing to do in the long run. So Mama Maxwell, kudos to you because you stuck through it. And I think really Max was quite hyper energetic when she came for sessions, and Mom did the right thing by and usually we advise the same thing if she had not herself done it, like don't you be out of the session, but always have somebody else that the child spends the most time with come into the session, and usually most times it's house help. So we don't always have parents come in and sit in the sessions. There are some kids who will perform with the parent in there, but for a majority of kids, and there's an interesting research I read somewhere that kids are worse behaved, 700% more worse behaved when they are with their mothers. And honestly, like I see that. So by her sitting out and then the house help comes in, and usually I say to parents, invest in a good house help, because that house help is one that is spending the most time with your child, except from obviously when they're at school as well. So you also need to also likewise invest in a good school program. And then you come in and don't give up immediately. Like I think Maxwell took 6 months to settle to a year. Like they were not the most productive sessions. And I know a parent who's paying out of pocket and feeling like, oh goodness, are we wasting money?
Because you do have to pay whether it was productive or not. It was still time.
Actually, actually, speech therapy is not cheap.
No,
a session of 40 minutes or a maximum of 1 hour, it costs 4,000. How much is it right now?
Yeah, it's about 4,000.
4,000.
There are particular institutions that
charge even 6,000.
And you're telling us that for Maxwell, you used to do them 3 times a week?
Actually, up to now, not I used to. Up to now, from 2016 August, every week, I do Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. 3 sessions per week.
And you also have some sessions at
sessions
school.
at school. At home also, we do something in the evening. Because we have to work on this boy, because now is for him to catch up. We want him to be a fine gentleman in future.
You do.
And he has to make it. Yes, it's either make it or make it.
I know, there's no option.
His purpose has to be accomplished.
Yes. So Lorna, okay, give us a little bit of insight about the duration. Because she's been doing it since 2016 August. It's almost 3 years. How long is she going to do it for? Is it forever, or is it like for 5 years, 10 years?
So, well, it's not forever, hopefully, but for as long as you feel there's something that needs to be worked on. So really, we are over the milestone of getting Maxwell to start talking and to start really responding to sound. He already is doing that. He's already making sentences. He's already thriving in school.
That's awesome.
And really, I really feel like I need to emphasize it is Mama Maxwell.
Amen.
Because not all kids come and get the same outcome or experience the same successes as Maxwell did. Not because the other kids are more severe or, no, it's honestly because there's a parent there that has shown up, that is driven, that is committed, that has such a high standard that they have set for their child, and they're saying nothing else is good enough, and it's the reason why. Because she's making all these adjustments. So she's making sure she has a competent house help in the house. She's making sure she's identified the right school, and she's coming consistently to therapy 3 times, nearly 3 years.
Many times.
And can I say, it is the reason why Maxwell is where he is now. It's not really because of it's because of all those factors together. So when parents ask me how many sessions does my child need to have, or how long will my child need to come for therapy, again, it's very different for different cases. So this is today we've talked about a very small niche of what speech therapists do, in that they work with children who have hearing impairment, but to establish speech and language, and not really signing, not really gesturing. So to teach a child to be able to process sound and be able to enunciate and really use speech as their primary mode of communication. So for children who have a hearing impairment, the journey is much longer than, say, a child who has a stammer or a stutter, or a child who has a reading disorder, or a child who has pronunciation issues. So, but again, what is absolutely, like, basically a given is that they have to come consistently, particularly during the early intervention. And then from there, if you feel like there's still a few things that need to be worked on that you still haven't achieved, and you feel like it's going to be an ongoing process. For a child with Maxwell, the issues are going to, he'll get to a point where now he doesn't need as much therapy, but until then, and if mom is feeling like we want a break, she's already set herself up for success in that she has a well-equipped help who I am sure she's ensuring stays with them. So she's incentivized for them to say, so you're not always having a high turnover.
Exactly.
She's also, we provide materials for children who come for therapy. So you can also invest in just knowing how you can progress on, even if you're not coming to speech therapy. So you can really empower yourself. I have an online course for parents who have children who have delayed language skills. So they don't necessarily have a hearing impairment, but basically to teaching parents how they can interact with their children at home to bring out the best out of them, the best out of their communication. So if you can invest in empowering yourself and the person that is working with your child, then basically you even if I one day decide to close shop, you still know what to do,
because
as opposed to be
you can't forever rely on
True.
you can even go to a different country or whatever.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, overseas, I know they have a very good system for remediating issues in children who have, any delays, in that you'll be picked up by a professional for the early intervention. So first of all, they're getting the hearing neonatal testing at birth. If you identify, then you are connected. You're already supported as a parent. There's a system. Then they have the early intervention, which is paid for, and then after that, you're picked up when your child goes to mainstream school. They have a mainstream speech therapist that is, in all the schools, there's speech therapy. So it's very ideal. Here in our country, in our context, we are trying to replicate that.
So it's going to take a while.
It is coming out of your pocket as a parent. So I keep saying,
very expensive.
In Kenya, the burden of having a child with special needs is solely
on the parent.
On the parent.
So you mean in other countries, it is there's help from like the government?
They take care of you.
Well, that's awesome, because I do see parents really struggling, and to be honest, especially when your social economic status is low, it becomes a challenge. And so you find that some parents actually, they are unable to because of finances. And so I wanted to ask, if you get to 5 years old and you've not spoken as a child, is that going to be your way of life forever, or can something still be done?
Something definitely can still be done. Will it be remediated in as well as it would have if this child has sought intervention earlier? I want to say no, but what would happen if that child doesn't seek intervention after age 5 or at age 5 or beyond? I mean, basically, it is better for them to seek intervention because at any age, they are then do nothing, because if you do nothing, the condition is likely to just get worse, or just stay the same. But as a child gets older, we expect more out of them. So if at 5 it was acceptable that you're not talking, at 6, at 7, at 10, there's a whole host of other issues that now accompany that. Like you don't have any friends, so you're going to obviously be isolated because nobody's able to communicate with you. But if you do seek intervention at whatever stage, we can try and help that child bridge the gap.
That's right.
Will it be as effective as if this child sought intervention at 18 months?
No.
Perhaps not, but who am I?
Who knows?
Like you might just
Sometimes
decide, this parent might just decide to go all hard and say, you know what, we are changing everything, we are reconsidering, and but yeah, so I'm never going to say it's never going to be done, but it is much harder. They will improve for sure, but they'll probably not get to resolve all the issues that they have.
That's true. And must the child speak, Lorna? Because there are people who say that communication is not just through language.
That's interesting.
I have actually heard that from a therapist, and I was surprised. But I wondered, is it okay?
And I mean also, I know there's, I don't know if Mama Maxwell has encountered this. I know her child goes to a mainstream school, which is just typical with kids that are
And we
hearing.
need to wind up, guys.
Yeah.
This is your parting shot.
Okay, so they don't have to speak. I mean, if you can be completely comfortable in that my child is happy the way they are. I know for children who are hearing impaired, there's a deaf culture where they say, who are you? Why are you imposing your way of life on us? I was born this way, or whatever happened, let me be. And there are children, there are particular children who are not going to benefit from auditory or auditory verbal therapy, speaking. And for them, they need to be taught sign language. So that choice also needs to be made. And I have made suggestions to some parents, say, I prefer that your child is taught how to sign. So it's been...
So it's a very diverse thing. You know, there's no one size fits all. It's very individualistic, right? Give us your parting shot, madam.
Mine is of a different opinion, because when I was looking for the schools, I went to one of the institutions that I hoped it would help me. The much they could do was to send me to a deaf school. I told them no. My son has to hear and he has to speak. I was conflicted. I told them that cannot happen. Now, if I took him to a deaf school, I would be shutting him off, you know. That thing of, well, even signing...
This is your parting shot,
yes,
right?
even signing
to
was
wrap up the show.
Sign language was an option for him. I was willing to do the sign language. I still have that plan to do sign language as a parent. Even the help, the house help can do the same thing. But now, what about the economy? Everyone else, you know, the society.
Yeah, that's true.
What about the society?
Right. So, viewer, guess what time is up? We really need to bring these ladies back because they have so much to give. But thank you for joining us, and thank you so much, ladies. This has been so informative. We'll see you next time, viewer. Bye.